This video is all about how we made this wash station to wash produce out of the garden. If you want to see how we made it, stick around. So this wash station we made right here has been super useful this year, and we always kind of wanted a place to wash our garden produce and just to kind of sort it and organize it. And this table has solved all of those problems that we had in past years. And we wanted to make a video about how we made it. So the most important thing I think we can tell you about making a wash station, if you want to make one for your garden, is find the sinks that you want to use and find them first and kind of make your table go around the sinks as far as fitting the sinks. So I'm going to pull these out. These sinks are 16-gallon galvanized tubs, and Little Giant is the brand. And we got these at Murdoch's Ranch and Home Supply. When we got them, they did not have the drains right there. We actually drilled those in there and put those in, and you can see the bottom portion here. We bought a drain and put it in, and then also used a little bit of epoxy around in order to make that work and make it so they don't leak. And so far this season, they don't leak. I realize we might need to kind of work with that in the future if we get a leak, but that's okay.
While editing this video, I realized that silicone was most likely used to secure these drains. If you make a similar table, it's a good idea to make sure you get good quality drains if you're adding drains to your sinks.
Of course, when we bought our drains, we made sure to get drain plugs with them that would work for these drains. Something I really like about the way we designed this is that these tubs do come out. The reason I like that is because when you're spraying off a ton of produce out of the garden, sometimes it's full of leaves and mud and just like things that you don't want to bring in your house, which is the whole reason that we're doing this, that we wanted to do this outside. But when that happens, you can kind of tilt this tub up and spray it out and avoid clogs in that drain, because that can just get kind of annoying after you keep doing it over and over again. And then it just pops right back into this little frame right here. So let me put this one back in. Since we added that drain in there, you want to obviously be careful when you're taking it out and putting it back in. So after you get your sinks, how we decided to make this table was these are 8-foot 2x4s that we had left over from other projects. And then the sides over here, if we made the tabletop first, like the little rectangle that frames it out, these are 20 inches right here. Yep, 20 inches. And so we made that first and then framed in the sinks. So right in the center, this is a 20-inch 2x4 on its side for the middle of the sinks. And then on the two sides right here, now you can see it, there's another 20-inch 2x4 on its side in there. And that ended up being a support for this 2x4 that is 14 inches down to support the bottom of the sinks. These two pieces of wood actually came off of an old pallet. They're just a scrap from an old pallet. And so are our countertops as well, which I kind of like that. I kind of like to reuse stuff as much as possible.
The countertops on each side of the table are made out of 7 pieces of wood removed from old pallets. These pieces of wood are nailed down with small gaps between the boards to allow for produce to dry more quickly. The countertop surface is 26.5 inches by 31 inches.
I know I said you want to make sure you're fitting your wash station around your sinks, but if you happen to use these sinks, our measurement that we used on this going across is 4 feet exactly. So 48 inches on that. And our legs then were screwed on next, and these are 29 inches down. All the 2x4s are placed on their sides, so you're going to have your 3.5 extra inches from the 2x4 up above it. When we put this together, we actually did screw these legs in from the top before we put the countertop on. And then everything was sturdied up with some diagonals, making a couple of triangles along each leg, and it is pretty sturdy. And so far, so good. Right now, we don't collect the water when we're using this wash station, so I just drag it around to different parts of the yard to kind of water the yard a little bit. On the countertops, these were removed from old pallets, and then we used nails to put them in. You could do screws, of course. And then after that was on, we just took a pattern to trace a little circle to round the edges, and that made it really nice so that you're never bumping yourself on it. Everything's nice and smooth. We could, of course, go back and sand these and make this a little bit smoother, but for washing the produce, I haven't noticed that being an issue, that they are a little bit rougher. That's kind of how we designed it. I really am liking that we have the 2 different counters, because you can wash a bunch of different batches of different stuff. We like to allow for things to air dry on the counter spaces, so having the 2 counter spaces is really nice. so that we can go and wash a big batch of stuff and then allow it to dry on both sides of the counters. And then we can go and do a bunch of different kinds of produce as well, because we have all the counter space to place the produce up on. And how we've been using this is to prepare our produce to go to the farmer's market. I made a little video about this earlier, and a lot of people were commenting saying that we should not wash things like potatoes for long-term storage. I understand that. The reason we use this is for selling at the farmer's market, and one of the rules at our farmer's market is to wash all the things and for them to be free of dirt, especially those root vegetables. This was our solution to that, to be able to do it outside and not bring all that stuff into the house, because when you're washing stuff from the garden, there is a lot of mud and debris that will accumulate in the bottom of the sink, and you don't want that in your house. And also, if you're bringing everything inside, you're kind of making a mess, or at least I know I make a mess when I bring stuff inside. All over the counters, there's dirt everywhere, there's water everywhere. It's just kind of a, an annoying task to clean all that up. This prevents that, and that's really nice. And say you get a bunch of dirt all over this, you just spray it off and you're outside, and it's not a big deal. It can just go right on the ground. So, really practical and really has been handy. Aside from just washing produce in here, it's also been nice to group produce on here. Maybe I'm bundling a bunch of kale or Swiss chard or something. This is a nice outside surface that we can use to get that done. And you might say, oh, I don't have room for that. I don't want that at my house, because what would I do with it all winter long? I only use it for a couple months out of the year. We actually take this whole thing and we put it in the garage. We put a piece of plywood over the top of the sinks, and now you have an extra work surface in your garage that you can use all winter long. So it's really versatile that way, and that'll also keep it looking pretty nice too if it is stored under a roof somewhere. And we've just really liked having this year. It was a great addition to the garden, something we were definitely missing, to get all of the produce washed and to just kind of help ourselves have a good process. So you might say that you don't really need a setup this big because you're not selling at a farmer's market. You don't have all the gardens that we have. But a point I do want to get across is that this would be nice for even a smaller setup, because it enables us to not bring all of that dirt inside and wash all of that inside of our house. And that just clogs the drains, and you could be putting that in your septic or into your city sewer, or however your water gets removed from the sink that you would be washing all of that stuff in. And this was actually a birthday present for me this year, and that's how much I like it. That, I like that some of the materials were reused. I like that it's super practical and we can use it, and it's something that we've been using a ton this year. And thanks for watching this video. If you're liking the stuff we're putting out on our channel, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks so much for watching.